It is showtime. What's going on, IP family? I am your host, Dave, 10-year intellectual property attorney dealing with everything from patents, trademarks, copyrights, trade secrets. And we have a full show for you guys lined up on what's today? Sunday, July 13th, 2025. Hey, it seems like July, man. Really, this whole year is flying by. But we're all already in the middle of July 13th. So, hopefully you guys are being productive and getting things done. We have a full show for you guys lined up, as I talked about. We're going to talk a little bit about Buy It Now, the new show on Amazon Prime. I'm going to be giving you guys my thoughts on the pitches this week and just talking a little bit more about kind of what that show is. It's really like almost a version of Shark Tank, but it's a little bit different. So we'll talk a little bit about that one and what pitch do I think was kind of the standout pitch of the week. We're going to talk about the interview of the week, Easy Scoop. We're going to be talking about Ferrari sued a energy drink company in Europe, and we're going to be talking about how did that one go down. We're also going to be talking about China. I'm not sure if we can believe anything that comes out of China these days, but it seems like China is working on this new EV battery that may blow out all the EV batteries here in the U.S. And as a patent attorney, I know a little bit about EV batteries, so let's stay tuned to that. And then an interview of the week that we will break down. The MLB is suing a counterfeiter in New York for trademark infringement, and it looked like this one got a little bit of jail time that's dealing with it. So we'll talk a little bit about all of that. So definitely let's be engaged. Hit that like button for the YouTube algorithm, as well as hit that subscribe button to be a part of the IP community. And I want to start like this, because I know I run into a lot of people. I interview people. I'm out on the streets talking to people about intellectual property. I have a number of different messages in my inbox on the different social platforms of people needing help, trademarks, patents, and things like that. But one of the common things that I hear is, hey, stuff is expensive. I kind of told the story last weekend. I was at a 4th of July party of a family member, and the cocktail waitress, she had a cool name for her cocktail business, but she was saying how, I'm like, man, you need to get that trademark. She was like, well, I'm trying to get a trademark, but it's just too expensive. And again, mind you, a trademark is like $1,000. So when you're talking about expensive, if $1,000 is expensive, then and you have a business, then it's going to be tough sledding. But what I do think we do have, not only in the African-American community, but just kind of nationwide, is a discipline problem. So I have a property that I'm getting in a process of getting renovated. I'm in real estate, so I got a unit that's getting renovated in Lansing, Michigan. And I had to call Consumers Energy and had them turn on the gas back in my name because the tenant moved out. And the lady who I was talking to in a call center at Consumers, for those of you who are not familiar with Consumers Energy, it's one of the utility companies here in Michigan, I should say. The two biggest utility companies in the state of Michigan is DTE Energy, which is like Detroit Edison. I think that was named after Thomas Edison, and it's Consumers Energy. So those are the two big utility companies here in the state of Michigan. So I'm talking to this lady in the call center, and she's like, how do you like, being a landlord? So I'm telling her, yeah, I've been doing it for about 10 plus years, and it's cool. And she goes on to tell me that she has a property, at least one property, that she kind of does Airbnb on now. And again, this lady worked in a call center as a caller. Seems like she works a lot of hours in a call center. And I'm not sure what people are, or what companies are paying people in a call center, but I would imagine that is not that much. But this lady has still managed to not only work a lot of hours in a call center for a utility company, but she also has a property that she owns and rents out via Airbnb and makes money off of it. So I think that's just an example of, hey, a lot of people just don't want to be as disciplined as this lady to take advantage of being able to buy property, buy assets, whether it's real estate, whether it's stocks, whether it's intellectual property with regard to your business, and kind of doing it the long route. People want that fast money. They want that, not only the fast money, but they want that fast attention, I should say. And so I'm kind of juxtaposing that to another situation in which, and I typically get hit up for money from different friends and family. And it's probably like 5 or 6 times a month. So it's nothing anything new. But this week I had 2 people hit me up, and I'm not going to say their names because that's not important. But the thing is, you'll have people hit you up for money, or people spend money on things that doesn't matter to them, designer clothes, designer shoes, things like that. But then they hit other people up for money. And again, that goes back to just not being disciplined enough. So you got one person on one side, the Consumers Energy lady, who she's working at a call center and still owning property. Then you have this other person who is calling me for money. However, they are not I mean, they have kind of designer clothes and shoes and things like that. So, man, ultimate message with this story is you guys have to be more disciplined in whatever it is that you're doing. We're going to get off in two things into the different, the different show I have lined up for you guys. But as you guys are starting your businesses, investing in assets, just make sure you are being disciplined. That's the word of the day, is discipline. So with that, let's move on here to Buy It Now. Now, Buy It Now is a show that, in my opinion, I think it is supposed to compete with Shark Tank. Now, obviously, we know Shark Tank, that is owned by ABC, and it's been around for almost 20 seasons now. That is in a little bit of a hiatus right now. And it seems like Amazon or Prime Video has came out with a show called Buy It Now. Now, this show is a little different, just the setup-wise. They're pitching to it. So typically in Shark Tank, you pitch to a panel, and one of the sharks can either decide to go get a deal with you or make you an offer, and essentially, get a deal with you. Whereas this show, Buy It Now, that's on Amazon, and I'm gonna blow this show up. This is one of my focuses, is to make sure that this show starts getting eyeballs, and it's on Prime Video. But this show is pretty cool because it's in front of a live audience. So you have 100 audience members that the person is pitching their product to. And you need 10 of those 100 people to essentially say they will buy your product. They vote. So as you're pitching it, 90-second pitch, they have a button. They can vote yes or they can vote no. Once you get 10 yeses, then you go to a panel that essentially you need 2 out of the 3 panel members to say, okay, your product deserves to go into the Buy It Now store, which apparently is Amazon's exclusive store for people to go to and kind of buy products. Your store will be, your product can be featured on that store. You see here, the picture to the left here is the 3 panel members that is voting on whether or not your product should be in the Buy It Now store. Like I said, you need 2 out of those 3 panel members to say yes. Jamie is in the middle. The guy, he seems like he's a regular customer from what I'm gathering. And he was actually on Shark Tank. I don't think he did a deal on Shark Tank, but he invented the Ring, the founder and inventor of the Ring doorbell, which a lot of people have. And he actually sold the product to Amazon for $1 billion. So that's kind of his connection to Amazon. Seems like the other 2 people that are on the panel of Buy It Now are like kind of a round robin where they get switched out from episode to episode. So go check out that show, Buy It Now, on Prime Video. I think the interesting thing about this episode was one of the guys, Scott Putman, who I interviewed. Look, I'm starting to interview these people who make it to the big leagues, make it on these shows, Buy It Now, Shark Tank. I actually interviewed I'm not going to say her name, but I'll probably hopefully be able to say it later, where she hit me up a couple days ago like, hey, or she's hit me up a couple weeks ago like, hey, I'm trying out to be on Shark Tank. She actually hit me up a couple days ago talking about, hey, trying to help her protect her intellectual property, at least, by way of a trademark. But it's cool for me to be able to interview some of these people before they make it on these shows, whether it's Buy It Now with Amazon or Shark Tank. And particularly Buy It Now, Steve Putman, he made it on it. This is it right here. This is the video. So the gentleman to the right hit now, I didn't interview his daughter, but the gentleman to the right is who I interviewed on my show a couple months ago. And he essentially made it on Buy It Now, and they actually was able to get their stuff on the Buy It Now platform or marketplace. That's why you see, let me see if I can go to the bottom here. It doesn't show up, but you see the Buy It Now button for people to select their product. So shouts out to Scott Putman and his daughter Paige for making it on Buy It Now and also making it onto the Buy It Now marketplace. It was a couple other pitches that I thought were pretty interesting. You had number 1, it was a lady who had a mask so that you don't mess up your makeup and your hair as a woman. And she was able to make it on a Buy It Now store. And look at, I've had experience with women in makeup and getting it on my clothes or on my furniture. So shouts out to her for inventing a device with regard to that. It was another person, Vac Daddy, man. I'm going to try to reach out to all these people outside of Scott because I already interviewed them. I'm going to try to reach out to Vac Daddy as well as the person who owns Mask. Vac Daddy was essentially a device or vacuum that cleans your pool, essentially cleans your pool. So shout out to, I forget the gentleman's name, Matthew, I think is his name. So shout out to him for Vac Daddy. Now, he unfortunately didn't make it on a Buy It Now platform or the Buy It Now marketplace, but he was nonetheless on the show. So shout out to Buy It Now on Amazon. Go check out that show. And yeah, it'd be interesting to see what's going on next week. So the interview of the week is the Easy Scoop. So let's kind of cue that up here so that we can play that, and then I'm gonna show you guys my thoughts, share my thoughts on that one. I think this is interesting for a number of different reasons, which I'll share here in a little bit. So let's cue this up and see what Tyra is talking about as it relates to her product. Let's go.
What has been interesting about going into licensing now, product development, all the aspects, everything that entails, is I had to really flex. I had to flex my brain muscles a bit because, again, I'm so used to things that have to do with creativity come easily. Like, creating my sell sheet, the promotional videos, all that stuff. That's fun. But then I had to do cross patent searching and referencing, and I had to write a provisional patent application. And, I was like, the good news is I did study business law when I was at MSU. I do, so I could navigate my way around writing text that was legal and that, covered a lot of the basis stuff. But I got to say, it wasn't comfortable for me to do that. So a lot. And then when the licensing agreement actually came out, I just looked at it and I just, I felt like I was reading hieroglyphics. It's like, oh, okay, what does this all mean?
So shout out to Tyra. Again, her product was interesting enough. She has an easy scoop, which you can see here. It kind of doubles as a scoop, but also a strainer for your kitchen sink. And the interesting thing about Tyra, a number of interesting things. Number one, we both went to Michigan State. I think she currently stays in Europe with her husband and her kids, but she's from kind of that Lansing area. We both went to Michigan State, clearly at different time periods. But that was one cool thing that I found out. And then the other part of it was Scott Putnam, who I just talked about with the Swap and Scoop. He has a platform called Inventor's Edge, helping people kind of get their product out there and get licensing deals. As you can see, Tyra, she was able to get a licensing deal, but then she was also able to go through Scott's program to get that licensing deal and help her out with that. So shout out to Scott and Inventor's Edge with that. So that's cool that both Tyra and Scott I've had experience with in terms of interviews and being able to kind of have a relationship with or build a relationship with. So shout out to them for that. But again, she talked in the interview. You guys have to go check out this interview with Tyra with the Easy Scoop. She talked about how, hey, she's a creative, but she's not really necessarily a business person, and how this is why it's important to have the right support team around you, the support staff around you. Well, her kids, her husband were supporting her to say, hey, you need to go do this. Her son actually made her first MVP, or minimal viable product. Her son did it on a 3D printer and told her, hey, you need to do this. You need to go forward with this. You can make some passive income. And again, she had to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. Like you said, she is not a business person per se, but she was a creative person. But she was able to create this product, and then she was able to get with the right team and Scott's team and essentially license it. And if you go to Amazon, her product is not on a buy it now store, but if you go to Amazon and type in an Easy Scoop, she is on Amazon selling her product. So again, this business stuff, this entrepreneurship, inventorship, regardless of whether you're a creative, you're not a business person, you can still play this game and have success. And I think Tyra being able to kind of create something in her head, have a physical product, get a licensing deal with the company, and then next thing you know, her product is being sold on Amazon and these different marketplaces. I don't know. I think that's cool. So the Easy Scoop, I just went with Tyra Thalen. Go check out the Easy Scoop that you see here in the bottom left-hand corner. It doubles as, number one, a sink scoop, but it's also a strainer. It's being sold on Amazon Marketplace, and I did interview her just, that interview just dropped this past week. So go check out her as well as kind of her product. So we're going to move on here. And I think this is a pretty interesting, I thought this was worthwhile to kind of talk about Ferrari actually suing an energy drink manufacturer for trademark infringement. Now, I'm not going to go through the article in detail, but this is the picture. And I want you guys to let me know in the comment section, do you think that this is trademark infringement? Now, to the left is Ferrari. And obviously, we know Ferrari, the luxury car manufacturer. And then you have We Power, which is an energy drink manufacturer that's out of Europe. Now, I haven't seen We Power here in the U.S. Let me know if you guys have seen We Power here in the U.S. But they have also horses in their design. And as you can see, the article here, it says, let me take out the banner here. it says that Ferrari loses their logo suit against the local energy drink We Power. And I thought this was important to share because a lot of times people think that when these big companies go after you, you're scared or you don't want to do anything because you have these big companies, but you can win these intellectual property battles against these big companies. You can see this small startup energy drink company in Malaysia, I think it was, which is in Europe, has beat Ferrari, the trademark lawsuit. So Ferrari sued them for trademark infringement. And again, let me know in the comment section, do you guys think that just looking at this, now we know the standard for trademark infringement is the likelihood of confusion. Do you think that these two logos are confusingly similar? But so Brandon, let's see what Brandon says. Brandon says that they do look pretty similar, but they are using two horses versus one, but they are uniquely different. And I would agree with you, Brandon. And that's exactly what the court said. The court said, hey, Ferrari is using one horse. We Power is using two horses that are facing against each other. And that was one of the big reasons that Ferrari lost this case. Another big thing that the judge talked about is, hey, the names are different. Ferrari, obviously, the name is Ferrari, and the energy drink company, the name is We Power. And I do think that if the energy drink company name was Ferrari, I think they would have been in trouble. But the fact that the logos are different, you see the W that's essentially in between the two horses, and then the name We Power is different from Ferrari. Ultimately, the judge said, hey, these are enough differences to the point where this is not trademark infringement. You guys may be asking, like, hey, Ferraris deal with cars. How could anybody have a likelihood of confusion when dealing with energy drinks? These are completely two different classes. And you're right with that. However, it's a thing called, when you have a famous brand, and I think we all would agree that Ferrari is a famous brand, you get expanded protection. So you get protected not only in your class that you're operating in, which in this case is cars, but you also get protection in other classes as well. So a lot of times I see this with Louis Vuitton. You be seeing Louis Vuitton they sue these people for trademark infringement because you'll see somebody try to pop up a coffee shop that's called Louis Vuitton. And even though coffee is completely different from luxury retail, the court is like, hey, man, you can't try to trade off somebody's famous name, calling it the same name, even though it's in a different class. So I think what saved We Power in this case is the fact that even though they both got horses involved, I think We Power has two horses, has a W in it, and then the name is We Power as opposed to Ferrari. So again, you can't win these trademark battles even though you're a little guy. We saw last week where a startup coffee company, I think it was called Strong Best or Seattle's Best, they're probably going to beat Nestle in their Seattle Strong trademark infringement case. So just because you are a small guy or a small company and a big company such as Nestle or Ferrari comes suing you for trademark infringement, again, man, you can't win, especially if it's enough differences in a mark. And I do think that in this case, it was enough differences. So shout out to We Power. I'm going to have to be on the lookout for that. Let me know if you guys have had We Power here in the U.S. Like I said, this case was in Malaysia, but the laws are very similar to the point where, hey, they was able to win this. Let's move on to the next one. China. I'm not sure. And you can't really believe anything that comes out of China these days, but it seems like a China company, Hawaii, is building a electric battery that gives you 1,800 miles, so they claim. China's tech giant claims 1,800-mile range for solid-state EV battery. And they just filed a patent on this. Let me put this in perspective. I have to put this in perspective for you guys. Currently, electric vehicles only get between, let's say, 300 miles. And again, I have a unique perspective because I probably write like 20 to 30 patent applications for electric vehicle companies here in the U.S. every year. And part of the company, the patent applications that I write are trying to extend the range of these electric vehicles. Now, typically, electric vehicle is going to get around 300 miles, probably really 200 to 300 miles. If it's a good electric vehicle with a nice battery, you can probably get upwards of 500. So to say that this electric vehicle is going to get 1,800 miles, you guys have to let me know in the comment section. Do you think this China company, this is capping, or do you think this is the real deal? I think that's tough to go from the industry standard being around 300 miles to all of a sudden you're getting 1,800 miles with your electric vehicle. And the other important thing about this is gasoline powered cars or gasoline vehicles only get like 400 to 600 miles. So this thing will be blowing out even gasoline vehicles out of the water. Like I said, the standard industry standard for electric vehicles is around 300 miles based on a full charge. And your gasoline vehicle, if you gas up your stuff till it's full, you're probably going to get anywhere between 400 to 600 miles on a gallon, on a full tank of gas. In this case, this Chinese company is saying that they're getting 1,800 miles, or they've kind of developed the technology so that their electric vehicle would get, or their battery, I should say, would get 1,800 miles. Like I said, I'm calling cap on this one. I do think as time evolves, the technology will increase to the point where you're going to get around as much as the gasoline vehicles, but 1,800 miles, I think that's cap. I think that's a crazy high number. But the other important part of this patent is they're saying that you're going to be able to get a charge from, say, empty to full in 1 to 5 minutes, which is big, because one of the biggest gripes or criticisms about electric vehicles is that, hey, man, I can fill up my gasoline vehicle in, say, 4 minutes. I can go from empty to a full tank of gas in like 3 to 4 minutes, whereas electric vehicles, even with these fast chargers that Tesla has, you're going to get probably an 80% charge in, say, like around 20 minutes. But they're saying that you can go from 0 to 100 in 1 to 5 minutes. So not only are you getting 1,800 miles, which is crazy, but you're also getting that full charge in 5 minutes. Now, like I said, you guys be the judge of it. I'm just providing you the information, but I think that's pretty cap. Let's see what Brandon says here. They're capping 1,800 miles. That battery will be pretty expensive. But and I do agree with you. But do you remember back in the day? And this is funny because I was just in Frankenmuth, took my daughter to the water park this weekend, and I went to this chicken place, and they had the old school. You remember the TVs that it was a big bulky TV that sat on the floor? Do you guys remember those TVs? It seems like that was ages ago. Now we have, so you went from that big bulky TV that sat on your floor, which probably our parents and our grandparents had. Then when that flat screen came out initially, that joint was like $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. But now you can get a good flat screen TV for like $300 or $400. So the technology is going to continue to advance, evolve to the point where I think at some point, now 1,800 miles, I think that's crazy. But I do think that when you get 500, 600 miles on batteries that can drive 500 to 600 miles, I do think that things will be inexpensive over the next 5 to 10 years, especially with the technology going. But now I would agree with you, Brandon, that 1,800 miles, that battery will be expensive. But just like all the other technology that we've seen kind of come in advance, such as, like I said, the TVs going from that floor model, then we went to like the big screen TV. Remember Hashitashi with the Martin? Then all of a sudden you got the flat screen TV, and we thought that changed the game. You got a flat screen TV early 2000s. You was the man. Like I said, that flat screen TV may cost you $3-4 grand, but if you had one of them joints, you was the man. I think I got like a 50, 60 inch TV for like $500. So again, just the technology has advanced so rapidly to the point where, hey man, it's like a dime a dozen. And I do think that's going to be the same thing with these batteries and these electric vehicles at some point. Now, whether or not we're there now, probably not. However, I do think we will get somewhere, get that way soon. If you had one of those TVs with the big back, you were doing it big. Hey, tell them. And I saw them joints. Hey, look, we definitely had that big back TV. This was probably like 2007, 8, probably 2005. You got that big TV with the big back. And just think, when that came out, that was like $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. And then towards the end of it, it was like, okay, you can get one of them joints for little to nothing. And then the flat screen TVs was the big thing. And now you can get one of them for little to nothing. So again, I do agree that 1,800 miles and going from 0 to 100 in 5 minutes, probably going to be an expensive process, an expensive battery. But I do think over time, over the next 10, 15 years, it's going to be a dime a dozen. Now, 1,800 miles probably going to be crazy work, but I do think we'll get there as far as at least 500 to 600 miles. So let me know if you guys agree with me on that. This is another interesting thing that I did want to bring up to you guys that I thought was worth sharing. Target is developing their off brands. You know, back in the day, man, off brands was like a bad thing. Now, I ain't gonna lie to y'all, man. I shop at Sam's Club, and hey, man, an off brand, that's pretty much that's good money. The only off brand product that I would not try from a food perspective is ketchup. I've tried a number of ketchups over my time, and nothing tastes remotely close to Heinz. You guys have to let me know in the chat if you guys have a ketchup off brand in mind that you think is comparable to Heinz. Because I don't know, maybe I don't know. Heinz is like the gold standard for ketchup. Like I said, I've tried a number of different ketchup brands, but that is nasty. So Again, let me know in the chat if you guys have any ketchup brands to recommend that's not Heinz. But again, for the most part, you can get, like I said, you go to Sam's Club, you go to Costco, you can get their brand. I know with Sam's Club, I think their brand is called Members Mark. And I mean, I get the shrimp scampi, I get the chicken bites, and it's pretty good. It's not, when you compare them to the national brands, even their local, their private brand pizza, we compare it to like the DiGiorno's or whatever the case may be. It's very comparable. Not only is it comparable, but since they don't have to pay those fees to get it into the retail like a national brand will have to do, it's going to be less expensive. So you're saying the price is comparable and it's less expensive? Hey, sign me up. Not with the ketchup though, not with the ketchup, but sign me up. And Target, it seems like they are, as you see the article, Target led U.S. last year in trademark application as it launched new brands. They filed 525 trademark applications in 2024 as they're looking to put more money behind their private brands. Now, you guys have to let me know in the comment section, do you think they're going to start scaling back on those national brands when you think of, again, I had the picture up, when you think of those national brands that you see and love, such as Tyson Chicken, Enrich, I think that's like a sausage company, pause on that one. But when you see these national brands, do you think as Target focuses more on their private brands, again, they filed 525 trademark applications last year to focus on their private brands. So do you think with that being the case, will they scale back more on having those national brands? And if that's the case, I think the national brands are going to be in trouble because these retailers such as Sam's Club, Costco, and Target, they have the stores. Obviously, there's no Heinz store, there's no Tyson store, there's no DiGiorno store. So these national brands are almost kind of relying on the big box retailers to put them in their stores. And do you think with these big box retailers, and we see a lot of trademark lawsuits happening where the national brands are actually suing the private brands, the Members Mark, the Target private brands for trademark infringement, because again, essentially what's happening with these private brands is, or these kind of the Targets and the Sam's Club, they know what's selling. So they're going to try to come up with a product that's similar to what's selling and sell that in their stores for a fraction of the price. And then you and I who go there and, hey, we're like, man, what does this cost? Okay, this Heinz ketchup costs $10, but not the Heinz ketchup, but this pizza, this DiGiorno's pizza costs $10, but I can get the Members Mark for $5, $6, and it tastes comparable. Hey, man, I'm doing a Members Mark $5 or $6 pizza. So I think the big brands could potentially be in trouble with this shift that's happening, especially since the big box retailers can sell these things, to sell their products at a lower price because it's their store. So again, let me know what you guys think on that. Again, to the extent that you guys have some ketchup recommendations that you think are similar to Heinz, let me know that as well. At this point in time, I haven't found anything that's comparable to Heinz, but I did think that you guys should be aware of that. And I've never shopped at Target for food. Typically, I go there for clothes. I may go there for some toys, some books, or whatever the case may be, some electronics. I think I got my Meta glasses from there, Meta Ray-Ban glasses. But I don't typically shop at Target for food. So you guys have to let me know, even is it worth shopping at Target for food? Typically, I do Myers, which is a Michigan grocery store, or I go to Sam's Club. Sometimes I go to Costco, but I don't typically shop at Target for food, but it seems like they are going to be providing more of their own private brand food options as well as clothing in that case. So kind of be on the lookout for that and just know that you made it. You heard it here first. So as we move on to the lawsuit of the week, and I think this is an interesting one. The MLB has sued a counterfeiter out of New York, not only for trademark infringement as well as counterfeit, but this guy has gone to jail. And a lot of times you don't think of, gotta put it back on myself here. You don't think of committing intellectual property theft or infringement as being worth jail time. Typically, you just have to pay some money and kind of everything is good. However, it can rise to that level of occasion where you're going to jail if you're consistently, essentially committing intellectual property infringement. So we're going to take a look at this lawsuit here really quickly, and then we are going to get you guys up out of here. So this is the lawsuit of the week. Let's kind of go through this thing really quickly. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section, man. I want to hear you guys' I want to hear from you guys on this one. So MLB, Advanced Media, as well as Major League Baseball properties has sued Jamel Dortch. Now, you know this is a black guy, a.k.a. Jamal Wiggins. So he has even an alias. And that's crazy. So we're going to kind of skip a couple sections to get down to the meat and potatoes of this thing. So we're going to skip the party. So plaintiff activity. So the MLB clubs are professional baseball clubs known throughout the U.S. and the world. And I will say this too. And this is all professional athletes, MLB, NFL, NBA. They typically don't kind of govern their intellectual property by themselves. They will have a third party. They will license their IP out to a third party. And that third party will make the clothes, sell the clothes, and do all this stuff, and essentially give that professional league a cut. This happened a lot of times even with colleges. Colleges and universities really don't have the manpower to be kind of dealing with IP and manufacturing, clothing, and all that. So they will allow a third party to manufacture their clothing with their name and logos on it and sell it. And in exchange, they would give that company a royalty, or the company would give that university or that professional sports franchise a royalty. And that's typically what's even going on here. MLB has given a third party the rights to be able to use and sell their products. And in exchange, they are essentially getting a royalty off everything that's made. So the MLB entities owned by registration or assignment, federal and state trademark and service mark registrations and trade names bearing the MLB baseball names, logos, and other designs. Let's go here. Plaintiff by authorization and other MLB entities are responsible for protecting the MLB trademarks from infringement, dilution, disparagement, misappropriation, counterfeiting, and unfair competition. So again, the third party who has essentially the rights to be able to make, sell, use the marks, they often also are tasked with the right to kind of defend people who are using this in the wrong way. So plaintiff are sold and exclusive licensors in the U.S. of the MLB products. Plaintiff and each of the MLB entities adopted the MLB trademarks and have used and licenses these MLB trademarks on the products for many years. Let's kind of go down to start getting off into the meat and potatoes. This is the defendant's counterfeiting and infringing activity. Hey, this is going to get crazy. So y'all got to check out what this guy did. Let me know if in the comments if y'all can kind of see this. See if I can blow it up a little bit. I want to keep myself somewhat big as well. So I think that's cool. In blatant disregard of plaintiff's well-established rights in the MLB trademarks, despite repeated warnings and without authorization or approval from plaintiff defendant, Jamal has counterfeited and infringed, continues to counterfeit and infringe, and threatens to further counterfeit and infringe the MLB trademarks by distributing and selling unauthorized merchandise, including but not limited to the apparel, baseball caps, headwear, and so forth and so on. So Jamal has a history of repeatedly violating plaintiffs' rights by advertising, marketing, and distributing, offering for sale in an area near Yankee Stadium. So this is happening in New York. So Jamal has been engaging in his activities and counterfeiting activities since at least 2022. So he essentially made a living out of this thing, man. He's been doing this for 3 years and was recently seen as of May 18th. So a couple months ago, essentially, selling a product. So back in September of 2022, Jamal was arrested. So look at this guy starting to get arrested for selling the products. I don't know. Y'all guys have to let me know. Is it that deep? Now, okay, committing infringement, intellectual property infringement, obviously I'm not condoning that. But if you're committing IP infringement, you get slapped with a cease and desist letter. In my opinion, it's time to stop. Okay, now if I have to go to court, it's really time to stop. But if I'm going to jail because of this, I don't know, man. I don't know. Seems like he was arrested for trademark counterfeiting in a third degree in connection with his distributing, offering for sale, and selling of the goods on April 1st. So this is a day, the following year, a day before my birthday, Jamal was arrested again outside the stadium for trademark and counterfeiting in the third degree for selling knockoff goods. Seems like last year in July, the defendant, Jamal, was observed again in New York selling knockoff goods as part of the enforcement. Plaintiff served Jamal with a cease and desist. So it seemed like at this time he got hit with a cease and desist. And as a result, Jamal agreed to voluntarily surrender the goods, which included 56 caps. Hey, this was a knockoff caps, which again poses a question for me. Why not? Why do people, whether it's concert goers, people like you and I who go to these events, I get it, man. You can buy the real thing for $50, or you can buy Jamal's knockoff Nike bucket hat for $10. But is it that important to have like a knockoff? Wouldn't you want the real thing? This is my 35-year-old self telling me that at this point in life, I don't want to get something that's a knockoff version just to say I have it. I would much rather get the real thing. but maybe I'm in a minority with that. So you guys have to let me know in the chat. Because I know if I'm walking past somebody on the streets, and this happens a lot, going back to you may be in Puerto Rico or whatever the case may be, and people are selling knockoff Louis purses or Gucci purses on the streets, and travel tourists are kind of buying those things for a fraction of the real thing, knowing there's a knockoff. Is it that important? I'm not sure. I probably want the real thing, but it seems like selling pink New York bucket hats, white bucket hats. Seems like he's selling regular caps, so forth and so on. So in August of that year, Jamal was observed advertising, essentially selling knockoffs again. See, the table got tape on it, duct tape. And clearly this guy's a hustler. So it's like, and this is where kind of my part come in, like, man, dude, I know you a hustler, which is a good thing. We got to separate the bad from the good. On one end, you a hustler, you selling the real thing. I mean, you a hustler, you willing to, hey, do what you got to do to make it buck. And that's good. We could take that and we could work from that. However, the bad part is you're constantly doing this and going to jail over it, getting his cease and desist letters. Clearly, he's not worried about being taken to court because he probably doesn't have any money. But when you get hit with jail time, it's never that serious to me. However, I know you got some type of ideal invention. Jamal, if you're seeing this, hit me up. I know you got some stuff that you got in your head that you got an idea for a product. Man, I'll be willing to do your what's name for free at this point, your patent application, trademark, just so we can get you on a straight and narrow path. Because I don't want you to go to jail. I'm kind of tired of hearing about that. Let's see what Brandon is talking about. But he says having the knockoff version of the thing defeats the purpose. It's not that serious to fit in. And that's, I think, especially here in America, we want to fit in so bad that we are willing to, number one, sell knockoffs. And I understand Jamal, he's trying to make a living. But just for the average person, just get like, man, I'm wearing these shirts. I don't want a Gucci shirt, number one, because I really don't care to pay that much money for a shirt. But then number two, I'm definitely not going to get the knockoff because I don't want it that bad to have a knockoff version of the shirt, to the extent when I get to the point where I can kind of comfortably get the real thing. At that point, I may do that if I decide to do it, but it's never that serious to try to fit in, as Brandon talked about, enough to get a knockoff version, whether it's Louis Vuitton, whether it's a knockoff a knockoff bucket hat, whether it's a knockoff jersey. I know that was back in the day as we were growing up, like 2004, 2005. A lot of people had the knockoff jerseys. That epidemic was going on. It's never that serious, and I definitely agree with you, Brandon, on that. So let's kind of continue on here. In August, the defendant was observed in front of the store, again, selling knockoffs. Look, he had the Aaron Judge shirt. I wonder if he was actually making money doing this. Clearly, he was making money, but I'm talking about if he was making enough money to justify you going to jail. Because I guess, as I'm thinking this out in real time, maybe if I was really down and out, how much money would it take for you to risk jail time selling counterfeit goods? Clearly, it's not a couple thousand. I have to be making maybe tens of thousands of dollars if I don't have any other thing going on to kind of risk my freedom to sell knockoffs, I guess. Just kind of looking at it, playing devil's advocate. Again, it's clearly not worth it to me, but if I play devil's advocate and I needed a hustle, and this was like an easy hustle, maybe $50,000, $100,000 to have to risk my freedom over it, I guess. But again, you can see here, he had the Aaron Judge knockoff shirt. He's still selling the hats. Hey, these hats kind of look authentic, but you can tell, man, if you buying a hat from a table that got duct tape on it, it's probably not the real thing. Now, if the guy who's selling the shirts and the hats, I think one of these things, like he just selling them September 5th. He was setting up shop down there at every game. There's more knockoffs. And they got every date that he was out there. Jamal Wiggins. What does this say? Seemed like he was signing this stuff. On March 29th, Jamal was observed in front of the store selling it. Okay, so it seems like the MLB got an investigator that made an undercover purchase from the defendant of a counterfeit Yankees t-shirt as depicted below. This is March of this year. On April 15, again, selling more knockoffs. Seemed like they were just, what's the name of them? Look, they saying at the market, the MSRP was $15. So, he probably was selling these things for like $5.99. Seems like this your boy Jamal right here. If you buying something from somebody in 2025 who's wearing a COVID mask, that's probably not a good thing. It seemed like he had somebody else helping him too. I wonder if they got hit. Let's see what Brandon says here. Having a knockoff version defeats the purpose. It's not that serious to fit in. We read that one. What he says, nothing is worth your freedom. I would agree with that, Brandon. I don't think nothing is worth your freedom. Like I said, I think Jamar got some hustle to him. And with that hustle and with that creativity, I know he got some type of product that he's trying to sell. He'll be better off going the legitimate way, creating his own business. And shit, he may be on to the next multi-million-dollar product, which goes back to the before. The quick money is never a good thing. That never lasts long, and it seems like he's finding out the hard way. I think this is your boy Jamal again. On May 18th of this year, so a couple months ago, Jamal was observed again outside the stadium selling bucket hats. Seems like he got some water in the cooler here for you guys. Look, he even got an iPhone, so you know he's making money. He got the iPhone, he hustling. It's not worth your freedom, as Brandon talked about. June 6th, so just last month, Jamal was observed again selling bucket hats. So long after MLB and each of the entities using registration of the trademarks, Jamal, on information and belief, commenced the distribution and sale of the infringing goods bearing the counterfeit and infringing marks. The activities of Jamal complained of herein constitute willful and intentional counterfeiting of infringement of the MLB trademark, are in total disregard of the MLB's rights, and were commenced and have continued in spite of Jamal's knowledge that use of the trademarks or copies of colorable imitations thereof was an indirect contravention of MLB. Used by Jamal of identical, substantially indistinguishable or confusingly similar copies of the MLB trademarks has been without plaintiff's consent, and definitely is confusing consumers. Let's go to obviously it's trademark counterfeiting. So you're doing this at a high level to get hit with the trademark counterfeiting, and that's why he actually went to jail. I think if he was just doing trademark infringement, yeah, I don't know. I think the trademark counterfeiting is what's landing him in jail. So let's go see what the trademark infringement. This is the second cause of action. MLB trademarks are fanciful and are arbitrary. So fanciful just means it's a made up. So the 5 categories of marks is a generic mark, which you can never get a trademark on. A descriptive mark, which you can't get a trademark on at the beginning, but you may be able to get it later on. A suggestive mark, which you can get a trademark on at the beginning. Just think of Netflix, think of Facebook. Those are examples of suggestive mark. It kind of requires you to use your imagination to tell what is the goods and services. An arbitrary mark is you using a word that's kind of random to the goods. So think of Apple. Typically people know apples of the fruits, but Apple, the computer company, is using it for computers. So that's an example of an arbitrary mark, and that's get a pretty strong amount of protection. Then a fanciful mark is essentially a made up word. Think of the drug companies, think of Adidas, Nike. These are made up words, and those also get the strongest form of protection. So when they say fanciful mark, they're pretty much fanciful and arbitrary. They're pretty much saying, hey, this is a made up word, a made up mark, a made up word, or it's essentially they get the strongest form of protection. So that's why they put that in there. Based on the MLB extensive advertising sales and the widely popularity of the plaintiff products, the MLB have acquired secondary meaning. So that's kind of, to be honest with you, that's kind of contradictory. So when you're saying something is fanciful and arbitrary, you're pretty much saying, hey, they get the strongest form of protection. But then when you say it is acquired secondary meaning, that's pretty much saying it was descriptive, but it got secondary meaning, so that is able to become a trademark. So yeah, that's kind of contradictory in my opinion. Let's go here. Jamal uses MLB trademarks and connected with the defendant's sale, distribution, and advertising of his counterfeit and infringing goods. Yada yada. Jamal has used the MLB trademarks without the MLB's consent or authorization. Yeah, we talked about that. Jamal has intentionally used the MLB trademarks in connection with the offering for sale, selling, and distribution of the counterfeit goods, knowing that they are the exclusive property of MLB. Jamal's conduct is intended to exploit the goodwill and reputation of the marks. And they pretty much just going in on your boy Jamal. So Jamal, let's see if it's something interesting that's worth kind of going over. So that's pretty much it, man. Jamal, if you are seeing this, definitely hit me up. Seems like you got the hustle in you. You got the creativity. I know you got some type of product that's in your head that you can kind of go through the process, get a patent on, maybe, apply that same hustle and drive to a product that you own, so you're not getting sued, so you're not going to jail. So if you're seeing this, hit me up. Hey, that link to the website is down in the description, or shoot me a message, and we'll try to help you out on this, man, because I don't want to see you going to jail. Seems like you're a brother. seems like you definitely just trying to hustle, make some money. But hey, we got to direct that energy in the right way, man. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Like I said, I enjoyed this one. We're going for almost 50 minutes here. We learned some interesting things. Again, we talked about the fact that Target is increasing their trademark filings for their own private brands, which it'll be interesting to see what does that mean for these national brands that they're selling their product. We talked about the Chinese company and their 1,800-mile battery. Let's see, we don't know how true that is at the moment. We talked about Ferrari actually losing their trademark infringement suit to an energy drink startup out in Europe. To buy it now, go check out that. This is my goal, and clearly I'm not working with Amazon or Prime Video, but I want to kind of blow this buy it now that TV show up. It's similar to Shark Tank, but it has some differences that I think are pretty cool and interesting. So I'm trying to blow that up, and kind of we'll see what happens with that. The interview of the week, Easy Scoop. Go check out that. She talked about a lot of cool things. The fact that she went to my alma mater, Michigan State. She's currently in Europe, staying with her husband and her kids. And her kids, as well as her husband, pushed her into essentially the part sink scoop and a part strainer. So go check out her product and her story. I thought that was phenomenal. And like I said, some other things, man. Go check out Peace, Love, Intellectual Property. Those shirts, you can see the link to it in the description. And to the extent that you want to learn more about kind of that process from thinking about your ideal as well as monetizing it, got intellectual property. That link to that ebook is at the bottom as well. Jamal, we definitely gonna get you one of these for free. And to the extent that you know working out, weekend warrior athlete, you want some grip, chalk list. That's actually a Shark Tank company. I think that link also is in the description. Go use the discount code David Spears to get 10% off. And look, I'll tell you what, man, a lot of people have been using my discount code, man. So they definitely snatching up that chalk list. It's not a powder. It is not a powder, but it's essentially some grain that you put on your hand. It kind of strips the moisture out of it so you can get grip. Like I said, whether you're a weekend warrior, an athlete, military personnel, you can definitely use enhanced grip. So go check that out. And again, man, if you are watching this for the first time, you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. We're talking about everything intellectual property. And I got some cool stuff that I'm coming out with a product. Unlike Jamal, I'm not trying to counterfeit other people's product and risk my freedom as well as hit a risk of intellectual property infringement. So I'm coming out with a product that is going to be cool. That should be kind of hidden, kind of in the market later on this year. I'm also coming out with a tool that I'm super excited that's going to help you guys to protect your intellectual property. So kind of be on the lookout for both of those things that's going to come out most likely towards the end of the year. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Hit that like button for the YouTube algorithm, as well as hit that subscribe button to be a part of the IP community. And again, I can't wait to see what's on the horizon for next week as it relates to intellectual property in the news, lawsuits, things of that sort to kind of bring you guys firsthand. And yeah, take care. You guys have a good one and a great week. Peace out.